Good afternoon, everybody. Please bear with us. It's just a couple of minutes until the scheduled start time at 5 o'clock. We will get going in just a moment on schedule. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our presentation on the top 7 rail vacations that we're currently seeing trending with Railbookers and Amtrak vacations. My name's Chris David. I'm going to be your host for the presentation this afternoon. I'm going to spend some time explaining who we are, what we do, and our top rail vacation packages that we have on offer. Most importantly, I'll discuss some of the advantages that you have by booking through Railbookers, which really are not available anywhere else in the marketplace today. Before we get started, if you have a pen and paper handy, please take note of our reservations telephone number at the bottom of the screen, along with our website. Also, don't forget to download your customizable flyers and helpful handouts. We have some flyers in the webinar platform for you to download, describing the sale that we currently have available and how you can customize a trip with Railbookers. If you have any questions, please put them in the question box below, and I'll provide answers to all questions at the end of the presentation. I want to take a moment to introduce our organization to you, just in case this is your first time attending one of our presentations. So who are we? Well, Yankee Holidays was the first brand in our group, established almost 50 years ago, back in 1972. In 2007, the Yankee Leisure Group was formed as we were managing multiple brands. Today, we have 2 distinct brands in the Canadian market. Those are Amtrak Vacations and Railbookers. We've had some really good fortune recently. Every year since 2007 was our best for the past 9 years, and we're expecting great growth again in 2020. Just 8 years ago, Yankee Leisure Group was based solely in the Boston area. Today, we have offices in Southern California, London, Beverly, Massachusetts, Sydney, Australia, and now in Toronto, right here in Toronto, Canada. So why book and travel with Railbookers? Let's spend a couple of minutes describing the things that really set us apart and differentiate Railbookers in the market from other operators. Well, first off, for 2020, and for the first time, you can book and pay in Canadian dollars. We have a very flexible booking and cancellation policy, which is important to many people given what's happening in the marketplace at the moment, with concern about rebooking a trip. I'll talk about that in just a few moments. We have incredible customer service. If you call Railbookers to book a trip, you'll be on hold for an average of 3 seconds, which I'm sure you'll agree is amazing, given how long you need to wait for many suppliers in travel. Railbookers provides access to many bucket list experiences, incredible scenic train journeys, luxury trains, which I'll describe in more detail. It's a very flexible way to travel, offering a lot of freedom. Rail is often the best way to appreciate the scenery of a destination, particularly in places like Switzerland, the Rocky Mountains, the California coast. And when you go by train, there's room to roam. You're not confined to your seat, and you have that ability to get up, walk around, and really enjoy the travel experience. Also with Railbookers, you'll find that everything that we have, all of our packages and itineraries, can be customized to suit your specific needs. Once again, the global reach of our company with offices all around the world, and what that means is that you have 24-hour support when you're traveling with Railbookers, because there's all of our offices are in a time zone that is close to where you're going to be traveling. Just a little bit about our flexible booking policy before we go further in the presentation. So we give our customers maximum flexibility so they can choose where, when, and how long they want to travel anywhere the train goes. An example is if a customer no longer wants to travel to Italy, they can select a Grand Canyon trip with our Amtrak Vacations brand. We're not restricted to a specific date of travel or destination. If the train goes there, so do we. So if you wish to cancel your trip, you have until 5 days prior to departure to do so, and you'll be issued a future travel voucher, which is valid for 24 months, which can be used on a new reservation for any of our brands, destinations, itineraries, for travel any date that you want, and any length of trip. So this is a map of the European rail network, and there are a lot of colorful lines and squiggles on this map representing all the different rail operators that are on the European continent. This can be quite confusing and intimidating for a traveler to put together a trip using all these different rail services. The beauty when working with Railbookers is we have direct contracts with each one of those rail operators. We are also the official vacation partner for Via Rail. So Railbookers actually serves the role of Via Rail Vacations. And because of this direct partnership with Via, we get exclusive access over a year before the product is released in the general market. So it gives you that ability to book way in advance with Via Rail. These are all the rail operators that we have direct partnerships with at Railbookers. These may be some familiar names to you: Deutsche Bahn in Germany, Trenitalia in Italy, Renfe, the Spanish rail operator, SNCF, Amtrak, Via Rail, Eurostar. We have direct partnerships with each of these companies, so no matter how complex your multi-country rail itinerary is, we can take away all the complexity and hassle and book that journey for you with ease. What does Railbookers offer? Well, it's a one-stop shop booking experience for you and an easy way to travel. Like any vacation package you booked in the past, our packages include everything from the rail transportation to hotel accommodations, sightseeing tours, transfers, and everything that goes into an independent vacation package. We also include skip the line reservations at the main attractions in the destinations you'll be visiting. If you've ever been to a highlight attraction like the Vatican, you'll know that you have to line up for hours all around the perimeter of the Vatican in order to get in if you have a general access admission ticket to the Vatican museums. With Railbookers, we make sure that with all the main attractions like the Vatican, the Eiffel Tower, and the great museums and highlight sightseeing attractions across Europe, we always include skip the line access, which, as you can see in the bottom right picture on the screen right now, gets you right in without having to wait in long lineups. Before we go into the itineraries that we have, let's talk about what life is like on board rail in Europe. So many European trains are similar in that they generally have standard class and first class. Standard class would be a 2x2 configuration with power outlets at all the seats. And in first class, you get more legroom. It's generally 2x1 configuration, so a wider and roomier seat, also a quieter experience because there are fewer people in the train car. With first class on European rail operators, there's usually a light meal or snack included in the fare. Most trains in Europe are very punctual. They run on time, they run often, very reliable and efficient service. With Railbookers, our rail experts will suggest the best routes and the times to fit your specific travel requirements. We'll also make sure that you have a seat reservation guaranteeing maximum peace of mind and the most comfortable possible journey for you. Luxury rail travel has become very popular of late, and we work in close partnership with many luxury train operators worldwide. Some examples: a company that we work very closely with is the VSOE, the Venice Simplon Orient Express, which is a train journey from London to Venice, going through some magnificent mountain scenery in Central Europe through the Simplon Pass. You're traveling in great luxury and style on the VSOE, so a wonderful bucket list experience and something to think about if you want that ultimate in luxury and refinement. Australia has luxury train experiences as well. Most well known as the GAN, running north to south through Australia. And then there's the Golden Eagle. Golden Eagle is the train that runs on the Trans-Siberian line and is probably the ultimate in luxury and in an extravagant, opulent train travel experience that you'd find anywhere in the world. Rocky Mountaineer is a an experience that's well known to many Canadians, a luxury sightseeing train through the Canadian Rockies. And many people are not aware that Via Rail has a first-class offering as well, which is the Via Rail Prestige class. This is a 5-star experience aboard the Via Rail trains. The picture you see in the bottom center there is the lounge car exclusively for the use of prestige passengers on Via Rail. This category offers a magnificent wood-paneled stateroom with heated floors and walls, a full queen-size bed in the cabin looking out onto a panoramic window. You also have a concierge service, 5-star cuisine, and interactive presentations from local experts aboard the train as well. A luxury train that's kind of close to my heart, as you may have picked up from my accent, is the Blue Train in South Africa, a very famous luxury train as well. So I'm showing some cryptic figures on the screen here, just to kind of get you thinking. What these represent is the size and complexity of the European rail network. Just less than 1,995 is the number of routes in the European rail network. And 36,000, or just less than that, is the number of stations there are, the number of train stations in Europe. And that's the real advantage of working with Railbookers and booking any kind of train vacation through us, because we know rail, we are the rail experts. And that's the case because all of our staff travel frequently on our rail trips worldwide. It's a requirement in our company that every staff member goes on a familiarization trip at least once every year. So you're talking to somebody who has firsthand experiences, and when it comes to choosing the right routing for your train trip, understanding the schedules and the train configurations to advise you on exactly what's going to work best for you, we have that knowledge and that expertise. So let's look at some of the itineraries that are trending with Railbookers at the moment. Eastern Europe is very popular, and here's an itinerary that showcases some of the great cities of Eastern Europe, Berlin and Dresden in Germany, and the magnificent European gem of Prague, the city of spires. This itinerary includes 3 nights each in Berlin and Prague, and you get a lot of sightseeing included, including skip-the-line access to the highlight attractions, walking tours in Berlin and the Old Town in Dresden, and a hop-on, hop-off tour in Prague so that you can see all the attractions on your own time. Dresden is an amazing city to visit, really spectacular, but also fascinating because it has some magnificent historic architecture and was almost completely destroyed in World War II and has been painstakingly reconstructed. So really something very fascinating and a beautiful place to visit. With Railbookers, everything can be customized. All the itineraries that you'd find online or in our brochures are curated itineraries that incorporate the things that people very commonly ask about. However, each one of those journeys can be customized to suit your needs. If you're doing a river cruise, for example, and wish to alter the rail itinerary to start or end in the river cruise port, we can do that. If the hotels that are included in the itinerary that we have in the brochure are a little different from what you would like or are interested in, we can change the hotels to meet your needs, and we're contracted directly with a vast number of properties, so we can provide hotels across the spectrum from 3 to 5 star at very good prices and build those into the journey to suit what you're looking for. Also, if there's a particular scenic train like the Glacier Express shown here on the screen that you want to incorporate in your journey, we can adapt and customize the itinerary to factor that in. Some examples of what it might look like to customize a trip. Well, if you have a journey from Barcelona to Paris, for example, and you want to add in some destinations along the way, perhaps San Sebastian or Lyon, we can do that. If you have a trip between 2 destinations, you want to turn it into a round trip by adding the return rail journey, we can easily do that for you. And if you see an itinerary that looks appealing to you, but you'd rather do it in the other direction, you can absolutely do that with Railbookers, because these are all flexible, independent trips. It's not a group trip. The departure date is up to you, and you can customize it according to what you're looking for. Another destination that we've seen a lot of inquiries for recently is Scotland, a wonderful destination to explore by train. Our complete Scotland by rail includes 4 nights in Edinburgh, 3 in Inverness, a night in Glencoe, and it also includes, very importantly, a ride on the Hogwarts Express, the Jacobite steam train between Fort William and Mallaig, which is a wonderful opportunity to travel aboard a working steam train, but not only that, but probably the most famous train in all the world, the Harry Potter train. This itinerary also includes amazing day trips, excursions, one to the Isle of Skye. You also have a cruise on Loch Ness, and you have plenty of opportunity for sightseeing in Edinburgh with skip the line admission to the Edinburgh Castle. Ireland, would you know, is also a wonderful itinerary to explore by rail. Our best of the Emerald Isle by rail itinerary includes Belfast, Dublin, Killarney, and Galway, as well as all the sightseeing experiences that you would want or hope for when you're traveling to Ireland. You'll see ancient castles, which Ireland is so famous for, like the Rock of Cashel. You'll go to Blarney Castle and have the opportunity to kiss the stone. You also have amazing day trips included in this itinerary, like the trip to the sightseeing drive around the Ring of Kerry and the opportunity to explore Killarney National Park. When you're in Galway, there'll be a day trip out to the Cliffs of Moher, which no trip to Ireland would be complete without. And from Belfast, the Northern Irish capital, you'll have a day trip up to the incredible geological formations at the Giant's Causeway. Blarney Castle, in case you haven't seen it, is shown on the right, and the famous stone that you kiss to get the gift of the gab is right at the top of the castle under the archway that you see in the picture. A destination that's also growing rapidly in popularity and becoming very well known for its amazing train experiences is Alaska. Here is the Denali Express with Alaska Railroad itinerary. You have 3 nights included in Anchorage, which gives ample opportunity to explore Anchorage's historic districts and the great sightseeing that there is available in the city to soak up the atmosphere and really explore. And then you have the journey aboard the Alaska Railroad up to Denali National Park through some spectacular scenery, and 2 nights exploring with guided sightseeing one of America's most truly spectacular and sought after natural areas, the Denali National Park. Train itself is a wonderful way to travel. We've juxtaposed 2 images here. On the left are people traveling in a motor coach on a motor coach tour, which I'm not knocking at all. I used to work in the motor coach group tour business, and it's a wonderful way to explore many destinations and very well suited to many travelers. However, one thing that you would never say about motor coach is that the actual transportation from one destination to another is the best part of the experience. When you go by train, on the other hand, just look at the couple pictured on the right-hand side. They're traveling aboard the Glacier Express in Switzerland. The train journey itself is part of the fun, part of the experience, and a highlight of the trip. These 2 travelers are enjoying a magnificent European meal accompanied by wine, huge panoramic windows showcasing the amazing Swiss alpine scenery outside. When they finish their meal, they can retire to the observation car, the lounge car. They can go back to their seats and have a wonderful, relaxing time. Glacier Express is about an 8-hour train journey, and every minute is memorable, and clients really don't want it to end. So that's the benefit of traveling by train, whether it's on Amtrak through the US, the Swiss scenic trains, via rail. Being on the train is a wonderful experience in and of itself. aside from the great time you're going to have when you get to the destination. So before I move on and talk about the US and Amtrak vacations, I'd like you to just give some thought to any of the trips, destinations, journeys, experiences that I've talked about, and which may be appealing to you to think about for future travel experiences that you may wish to embark on. So let's switch gears and move over from Europe and talk a little bit about Amtrak vacations and traveling by train through the US. So here's a map of the US rail network. Each of the black dots shown in this illustration are the destinations included in the Amtrak vacations packages. We have over 50 destinations to choose from. However, the Amtrak rail network is much bigger than that. There are 500 stations, smaller dots that are not shown in this picture. And the beauty of traveling with Amtrak vacations is that you can start or end your journey in any of those Amtrak stations. So if you see an itinerary that looks appealing to you, but you'd like to begin in a small town where you have family or a place that you've always wanted to visit, we can customize that trip based on the Amtrak network. Anywhere the train goes, that's where we can take you. So here's some of the things that set Amtrak vacations apart and the reasons that people really love traveling with us. Well, it's a stress-free, flexible, independent journey to over 50 destinations throughout the US. We have amazing connectivity into the US national parks, which is the next thing that I'm going to talk about. A very flexible booking policy, as you'll recall from early in the presentation. Right now, people are concerned about committing and booking trips. We offer you the ability to cancel up to 5 days prior to departure and receive a 2-year future travel voucher, which can be redeemed on anything we offer. So if you've booked a US trip and would like to put your future travel voucher towards something in Europe, we can do that. So can you guess our most popular destination in the US? I think this slide kind of gives it away. Well, it's the US national parks. We travel to all the national parks, and going by train is a great way to access the natural heritage in these beautiful natural places in the US. But the most popular parks are those shown here on the screen: Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Glacier National Park. Just to give you an idea of how easy it is to get to these places by train, the Amtrak station in Glacier National Park is just 200 steps from the main park lodge. And the Grand Canyon, well, the Grand Canyon Railway goes right up to the south rim of the canyon. So train is an amazing way to get there. What's more, we hold hotel inventory in the national park lodges. You may not be aware that it's quite hard to get space in the lodges in the national parks. Many travelers have to resort to hotels or motels that are located 10 or 20 miles outside the park itself. We hold space, so even if you're booking last minute, we can get you in to the national parks. An itinerary that's very popular with us is the New York City and Washington, D.C. getaway package, a great way to get you into these two great and iconic US cities with 2 nights in each and a chance to explore with included sightseeing as well as your rail connection between the two. You have multi-day hop-on, hop-off sightseeing passes in both Washington, D.C. and New York, so you'll get to explore all those sightseeing attractions that you've always wanted to see: the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, and many more. Of course, your 4 nights hotel accommodation is included there as well. Rails to the Grand Canyon, probably one of the most popular packages that we sell at Amtrak Vacations. It starts and ends in Los Angeles. You have an overnight rail journey from Los Angeles to Williams, Arizona. Williams is the kind of jumping off point for the Grand Canyon and the place to board the Grand Canyon Railway, which is a short 2-hour rail journey right up to the canyon rim. The Grand Canyon Railway is an experience in and of itself. It's an historic train where the train cars have actually been themed according to the different eras that the train has been operating. So it's great fun, and you have an expert guide on board who provides fascinating commentary. When you're at the canyon, you have 2 nights right at the rim of the canyon, so you wake up to the magnificent views and you get to see the sun rise and set over the canyon. You also have included the Grand Canyon Freedom Tour, where an expert guide and naturalist takes you along the South Rim to all the best vantage points so that you can appreciate the view and look out over the canyon from all the most famous view sites, as well providing commentary on the history, the geology, and all the incredible facts and figures that you need to know when you're visiting the Grand Canyon. Also at Amtrak Vacations, we provide city getaways to incredible US cities, sought after city destinations like Seattle. Here you have your hotel accommodation in Seattle with hop-on, hop-off sightseeing included. So again, you get to explore on your own steam at your own pace. A tour like that would include access to the famous Seattle Space Needle, the Chihuly Garden and Glass exhibit, which is incredible, all included. So a package like that can easily be put together with a rail journey. Seattle is actually the endpoint of the Amtrak Empire Builder line, which runs between Chicago and Seattle. So that's a great way, to combine the overnight rail journey with a city package for a great getaway experience. As I mentioned, with regard to Railbookers, everything can be customized with Amtrak Vacations, most importantly, the hotels. So any class, standard, or style of hotel that you're interested in, we can insert into the vacation that we're putting together for you. A lot of times we've found with our clients, people don't always want to stick to the same star rating throughout their journey. They may wish to splurge on a beautiful, iconic resort property in one destination, the Banff Springs Hotel, for example, something like that. And then in another part of the journey where they don't deem the hotel to be as important, they might skimp and do a 3-star, and we can mix and match and adjust the hotels completely to suit your requirements. We get a lot of questions about packing for the train. Well, on Amtrak Vacations, 2 large suitcases are allowed, so there's no need to skimp on your packing. And you can check your bags 45 minutes prior to departure, which addresses the concern that some people have about whether they need to deal with their own luggage and take it on board and find a place to stow it. There are 3 classes of accommodation on board the Amtrak trains, the first being coach. I always think that coach is a misnomer for the economy level on Amtrak because it's nothing like coach as we know it from air travel. The seats here have an enormous level of reclining. They're wide and comfortable, far apart for lots of leg room, and there are power points at every seat in the coach accommodation on Amtrak. Meals are not included when you're traveling in coach. However, there are meals available for purchase in the dining car. And then the next up from coach is the entry-level sleeper accommodation on Amtrak, which is the roomette. Roomettes have 2 large seats facing one another with large panoramic windows. Those seats convert to bunk beds at night. And in the roomettes, all the meals are included, so 3 meals a day when you're aboard the train. Washroom facilities are not in the cabin itself. They're private but shared, so the washroom is down the hall. If you are concerned about privacy and don't wish to share washroom accommodations, the bedroom is the right accommodation for you. This is a cabin with a roomy love seat and a large lounge chair with in panoramic windows, and you have your washroom inside the cabin, all your meals included. Amtrak can cater for as long as there is 72-hour advance notice. Some of the most popular destinations, I've covered some of them. We talked about the Seattle getaway, the New York and Washington, D.C. Experience. The national parks, of course, with Grand Canyon and the Glacier National Park being the most popular. Also, pre and post cruise experiences are very common and very popular with Amtrak Vacations from ports like New Orleans, New York, Fort Lauderdale, San Diego, Seattle, Vancouver, Los Angeles. We have great packages that can show you all the inland sightseeing and traveling highlights added on to a cruise experience. Some of the great things that clients have said about us, I'd like to draw your attention to what Den has said in the middle here. It took one call to book the perfect itinerary. Railbookers is always our first choice for rail trips. That's what we aim to be. That's, folks, our reason for existing at Railbookers, to make it easy for you to work with rail and to provide you that one-stop shop facility where we can provide our rail expertise to book the train arrangements and put it together with hotels and all the other aspects of the journey. So just to recap before we finish off the presentation today, you can pay in Canadian dollars with Railbookers for the first time in 2020. We have the flexible booking policy, so if you need to cancel, you can do so up until 5 days prior to departure. You can book up to 24 months in advance for Europe, which is very unusual and very unique with Railbookers. Most of the European rail operators only actually issue tickets 60 or 90 days prior to departure. Because we have the direct partnerships with those operators, we can allow you to book up to 2 years in advance. We bring rail expertise. We will answer the phone right away when you call us. We'll provide you with a quote instantly after your call, and we'll provide 24-hour support when you're traveling with us around the world, not to mention that access to the US national parks that we talked about during the presentation. Again, that rebooking and cancellation policy, 5 days prior, 24-month future travel voucher, which can be redeemed on any of our products worldwide. This is why, folks, Railbookers and Amtrak Vacations have been acknowledged as game changers in the rail travel industry, allowing people to create, structure vacations using rail as the transportation in a way that's never been possible before. So how to book Railbookers, how to access our rail experts to get a quote or just to ask about a journey that may interest you. We're accessible by phone. We don't have an online booking engine, although by visiting our website, you can have access to all of our itineraries, get all the ideas and the routings. But for the booking and for the quotes, just call either of the numbers shown on the screen. So that brings us to the end of the presentation, folks. If there are any questions, things that have come to mind during the presentation, please go ahead and type them into the question box, and I'll do my best to answer before we end off this afternoon. Okay, so I see a question here. Can you book rail tickets only, point-to-point rail tickets with Railbookers? That's a great question. I'm glad to have a chance to answer that. So the minimum requirement with Railbookers is one piece of rail and one hotel night. So even if you're booking a complex multi-country rail journey with us, our minimum requirement is that you book at least one hotel as part of that booking. So perhaps an airport hotel or one hotel in the middle of the itinerary. We're not set up as a rail ticketer doing transportation only. We are a vacation company, so that one hotel night satisfies the minimum requirement. One other question here about the deposit and payment terms. So with Railbookers, the advantage of being able to book 24 months in advance is that you can lock in the price with a $250 per person deposit. So even if you're traveling next year, way into 2021, we can book those rail tickets for you, and we can give you a final quotation when you pay your deposit of $250 per person, which is non-refundable. You only have to make final payment 90 days prior to departure, which is very different, by the way, from many train operators where it's an instant purchase. You have to pay in full at time of booking. With Railbookers, that's not the case. Your deposit locks it in. So that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for attending the presentation once again. I hope you've learned something. I hope some of the itineraries and the destinations and journeys we've described have whetted your appetite for traveling and exploring the world by rail, and we hope to see you aboard sometime soon. Thanks again and have a great evening.